Wago, Sewakwego, Ganawio Yungyats, Waginyaktu, Akwesasne. My name's Ganawio. It means under the riverbed, or a beautiful riverbed. I'm from the Turtle Clan, from the Akwesasne Mohawk Nation. I'm a traditional potter, and this is one of my pots here that I made special for today. It's kind of my own design based off of our older designs. This is a micaceous clay from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It was a really light color when it was fired in the kiln, but today when we cooked in it outside, Arlie and everybody, it changed all these beautiful colors, and tomorrow it's going to change some more, and it made some really delicious food. Had a wonderful time.
Yeah, so today we used it primarily to cook down some bison bones and to create a broth with it. And as you mentioned, I mean, it took on a new, kind of personality today, I think, after it was worked with a little bit, and now there's more contrast and things. So what was some of the thought process behind the pot? I mean, and what's the story behind it? I mean, I know you said it was your own design and some of your own interpretations, but maybe a little bit about it. I mean, and what makes it a traditional pot in terms of maybe some of the functionality of it and those sort of pieces, I guess.
Okay, well, this is not spun on a wheel, so anything that's built with hand techniques and my tools, I guess I consider are like hand built or traditional pot. Sometimes they have little forms down at the bottom, much like the Southwest. It's called a puki, and sometimes they use a gourd or like the bottom of a clay pot. So I kind of took that from the Southwest and started doing that on the bottom of my pots, and then hand building it up. And so you could see, like, there's some texture on the inside. Yeah. It's much different than if it were spun on a wheel. It would have a different look to it. And then you could see the micaceous flakes, the little sparkly specks. This clay's from Albuquerque, and they use it a lot in the Southwest. They say that it makes their beans taste better. It makes their beans taste sweeter, and it helps break down the hull of the bean shell. Yep. So when you see our old pots, a lot of times they'll have shape variations. Some are very round. Some have more like of an acorn shape. Yeah. Some are elongated. And I was told, like, the different shapes, sometimes they would use like the longer ones to parch with. I don't know, if that's true, but there's definitely a variation of shapes. I think it also just depended on the artist or the person that was making it. Not always, planned. Like, sometimes I might want to make a pot really round, and it's gonna, turn out how it's gonna turn out. Yeah. It just comes together how it's supposed to. Yep. And so I just I call it going with it. Like, yeah. I just go with it. I don't really have a design in mind. It's when I get there, then I just go with it and do it. And but I do base these off of the older pieces. I familiarized myself with a lot of old archaeology designs. Incising and things like that, the line work and stuff like that. Yeah. Usually right up in here. Yep. I try to keep that traditional down in here. But this is my own kind of design. Modern, just kind of turned it the other way. Sure. More like a diamond, and then it has like the sky domes. It has like these like zigzag patterns, like growth, like the plants. And then I think like the three sisters. Okay. And then there's the little. These are old effigy. The oldest effigies before they became more dimensional. Yeah. So, but I have it sideways. So I also think of our gajisa, our corn masks. Oh yeah. When I see those on the older pots, and then these are the rows in our garden, and so it has a lot of meaning to me. And then I also use corn to texture the bottom. You'll see that a lot on the old archaeology pieces that they find in archaeology sites. They're textured from using the corn on the bottom. So this was a tiny corn, kind of like Arlie had a little
Strawberry.
red strawberry. It's like that type. So sometimes I use the bigger kernel too, and it'll make bigger texture.
Yep.
And then there's always some type of line work, usually in the belly of the pot. And I just recently it was pointed out to me that this is like a Eric, what'd you call this?
A thermal break.
Thermal break.
Oh yeah.
Because when I learned, they said the heat goes up and away, and they, especially the rounded ones, the heat goes up and away, and you'll be able to handle this part while you're
on the collar
cooking.
area there. Yeah.
Yep. But I didn't realize it's a thermal break when they do that, when we do that. So sometimes you'll see it with this is just my thumb all the way around.
Yep.
But it's like a bigger indentation. And then other times they're either straight up and down.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're circles or they're off at a sharp angle. Yeah. But there's always something there at the top of the pot rim.
So is the base or the bottom of the pot, is it a little bit thicker? Were you intentional about any of that in terms of trying to think about the way the heat would disperse throughout the pot or anything, or maybe not this one particularly, but other ones that you've seen? Have you seen anything with that? Or is it better to be a uniform shape all the way through and
I think
thickness, I guess?
Most of the archaeology pieces you'll see a variation of different thicknesses, but when I learned, they said never go any bigger or smaller than the thickness of your pinky finger. That's what I try to measure it, because it's not too thin and it's not too thick. So I try to keep that throughout the whole entirety of my pottery. But you will see some pots, like a friend of mine, Ken Matuxon, made this one. This is a beautiful pot, and this one's a lot thinner. But you do find archaeology where they're really thin like this too. It's just that they might not last as long when you're cooking in them constantly. They're a little bit more
brittle, frail.
Well,
I think one of the things that we had talked about with Arlie early on was reintroducing this type of food, but that also then stands to talk about reintroducing this style of cooking and using the implements and the tools that we needed to be able to do this type of cooking. And so now you're kind of maybe cornering that market a little bit, or doing something, or reintroducing that in a way, because I think maybe up till now, a lot of your work may have been more artistic, in a way. And now we're talking more of the artistic beauty form and things like that, but now also being actually, something that can be used or, implemented and, be a part of the process. So that's the part of it as well. That's another key to this whole thing, is bringing back the foods, but also now bringing back the tools and the knowledge of how to actually cook and use those things as well.
Yeah.
So, this is a really beautiful thing to see and to be a part of, again, seeing the stuff being reintroduced. And, I know you guys have done other collaborations in the past and, been at other food events and things. So it's been cool.
I'd like to see us all collaborate more with the seed keeping, the seed storage, and combining all of our knowledge and the things that we hear in different places, and even reaching out.
It's amazing how all this knowledge gets reintroduced to us, whether it be through elders, whether it be through ceremonies, whether it be through visitations to different places, or even for some, just putting your hands in that clay, putting your hands in that bowl of seeds, putting your hands on that food, and suddenly that thought enters your mind of, I know exactly where I'm supposed to be, I know exactly what I'm supposed to say, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to cook this, how this should go. That knowledge is still there. I think we're the lucky ones now that are seeing this manifest itself and come full circle. What once was lost, suddenly there's a group of people now who have each taken a little bit of piece of that what was lost, and now we're coming together. It kind of reminds me, you said it, of the Chiefs Wampum Belt, the Circle Belt, the Circle Wampum. You've got 50 chiefs in this circle who all held some part of our story, some part of our traditions, some part of our culture, And when they bring those all together and make that circle of wampum, suddenly everything makes sense. A lot of this stuff is starting to make sense now. It's not just stories. It's not just, look what I did. Look what I can do. I can make this. Now all of a sudden, all that knowledge is starting to make sense. Why do you make yours this thick? It makes sense now. Why do we cook in this? You know what? That makes sense. Amy's wonderful with language. She's got that, you know, and she's taught me some things with language. And all of a sudden, you start talking and thinking in our original languages. It makes even more sense. You know, because the English language, let's face it, it's a boring language. You need all those different descriptors in order to make something come alive. Our languages, our original language, tells us exactly what it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be, and how we're supposed to be. What Tasha's doing with these things, you know, with these pots and with the clay, what Angie's doing with the seeds, what Amy's doing with the language, you know, what you're doing with the culture and the corn. This is all coming together, and it's very exciting times. This is, I'm so glad to be part of it now. I can see this thing taking off. I said, you know, in the beginning of this, I said, when we started this today, I said, something's going to happen, or something's going to take place that I don't know if I'm ready for. You know, this is so powerful. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'll do my best, but it's, you know, those of us that are here, and those that are still coming, and those that we're going to meet in the future. This is exciting times. You know, this is exciting times. I can't wait to see where it goes.